My college was very safe. The worst that happened was crazy drunk frat boys getting the police called for mischief. It was your typical campus fitted with those blue boxes where you can call for an emergency. Now, when I walked around campus, I'd often scroll through Reddit or Instagram. I know it was stupid, but don't judge me. I was a college student. Anyway, this particular night, it was dark out, but only about 7 p.m. There were lots of other students walking around, and the campus was pretty well lit. Yet, for some reason, I didn't go on my phone this time. I just had this feeling that something was off. I couldn't place it, but in the back of my head, I felt like something bad was going to happen. The walk continued normally, and by the time I got back to my dorm, I had begun to laugh at myself. Now, these were apartment-style dorms you entered from the outside via a pathway. At this time, I was hit by a sudden feeling of intense fear, much stronger than before. I looked around the common area and noticed a light coming from my room. Something told me not to investigate, and instead I muttered, "Seriously? I forgot it?" and went back outside. I felt a bit paranoid for the next few minutes, crouching down behind the window like a crazy person. I began to think I was just being weird when I heard footsteps. I slowly peeked into the window to see a man I didn't know coming out of my room and pouring himself a glass of soda. He brought it back with him and disappeared again. I stayed there for what felt like forever, until about an hour passed and I heard footsteps again. He was headed for the front door, and I bolted to the stairway. I climbed to the floor above and waited for a few minutes before returning. Sure enough, he was gone, and when I entered my dorm, I no longer had a bad feeling. I checked the place thoroughly and found nothing out of the ordinary until I lay down to go to bed a few hours later and felt something weird under the covers. I jolted up and turned on the lights to find a few condoms wrapped in plastic. I'm not sure what would have happened, but I'm fairly certain now that somebody was waiting to SA me. I didn't recognize this man from class, but he definitely was about my age. I don't know how he knew me, but the thought that I could have been stalked without realizing it struck me hard. I never saw the man again, and I never got the same feeling on campus. Somehow, I subconsciously knew that something was wrong. I have no clue how, and maybe there's an explanation, but that bad feeling may have saved my life. Junior year of college, this random guy approached me and a friend working a booth at an activities fair and asked us to help get in contact with this buddy of his that he was supposed to go camping with. Mind you, this is winter in New Hampshire, so really fucking cold. So it was already starting to sound sketchy. Not only was the guy not a student at my university, but he didn't even know the name of this guy he was supposed to go camping with, nor did he know the phone number. He said something to the effect of,
"Oh, I was supposed to pick him up this morning and give him and his girlfriend a ride to the campsite, but she's not picking up her phone. Can you help me find them?"
He kind of knew her name, kept saying it was something like this name, or something like another name. I was mad, creeped out, but pretended to help nonetheless, as my friend seemed okay. He tried guessing the name of this male friend, but all of the info he really had was the girl's name. His main goal in all of it was to figure out where he could find these people. He said he was trying to get into a building where he thought that they were, and he couldn't because it was locked. You cannot get into residence halls on my campus without a student ID. He even hinted that he was hoping one of us could help him get in the building, but we just shrugged it off with, "Oh, we wish we could help more, but we're stuck here until 2 p.m. After we failed to help him, we directed him towards the dining hall because we had no idea where else to send him, and he walked out of the building, and my friend and I look at each other and are both like, "Holy shit, did you get freaked out by him too?" I firmly believe that he was an abusive or jealous ex trying to find out where his ex-girlfriend and new boyfriend were. I really try not to judge someone before I know them, but something really just wasn't right with him, you know? P.S. This guy was 100% the Ted Bundy type. He had piercing turquoise blue eyes, was very handsome, had charming mannerisms, and a striking jawline. This took place around 2005. I was going to a local college. I, female 24, was in the computer lab, and some guy around my age sat next to me and introduced himself. I got creep vibes right away from him. I could tell he was interested in me, but he was being extremely pushy about it. I told him I wasn't interested that way. I never had a class with him, but he seemed to figure out which class I was taking, and every time I got out of a class, he'd be standing outside the door waiting for me. Or I'd be sitting in the cafeteria, eating with some friends, and he'd move his seat next to mine and start talking to me. My friends started to notice that he'd follow us around too. One day he asked me what my career plans were. I told him, but he said that he joined a company and would be making lots more money than staying in anything they offered at the college. He said that this company was having their monthly meeting that evening and that I should come with him to check it out. I was broke and struggling, so I foolishly agreed to it. He picked me up at the school parking lot and drove me. It ended up being a BS multi-level company that I didn't want any part of. At the end, we drove away and he said he wanted to take me to a nice restaurant. He was all dressed up with strong cologne. I said that I can't go and that I needed to get back right away. He started acting crazy, saying,
"Why won't you just go out with me?"
He started punching the wheel and screaming to himself that he was going to kill himself. I was terrified. I said, "Well, if you want to go out, you need to tell me ahead of time. I'm not dressed well. I have a big test to study for tomorrow," etc. He seemed to calm down and said, "Okay, we'll go out another time." But I was done, and I knew that I might have gotten hurt that night. I told the college counselor, and he was given a strong warning to stay away from me. He ended up leaving the school, and I never saw him again. So, I'm a college student, and last semester I had to go get dinner at 5:30 every Wednesday because I had a lab from 6 to 9. Well, one day, a couple months into the semester, I'm in line for food when this guy tries to talk to me. Immediately, I got creepy vibes off him, so I tried to talk as little as possible, answer in one word, stare at my phone, etc., and got out of there ASAP. A couple days later, I got food around that time again and decided to eat outside and get some fresh air. I'm sitting on this couch at the dining hall when the same guy comes over, sits right next to me, and starts eating. COVID is still big in my area too, so between that and him just being so creepy, I decide to get up and walk a loop around the hall before heading back to my dorm, just so I can make sure he isn't following me or anything. Well, after almost completing my full loop, I see him walking down the other side of the street in opposite direction. He didn't do anything, so I thought that would give him a hint and he'd go away. Nope. The next Wednesday, I had to get food at that time again, and as I'm walking to the entrance from my direction, he's entering the building from the other. There's a small foyer between the entrance and the dining hall, and as I pass by the entrance to give him more time to get away from me, I see him circling the foyer, waiting for me. I ended up going to the top floor of the dining hall, peeking over the rail to see when he left, then going down to get food. I started getting dinner at 4 on Wednesdays for the rest of the semester.